Today we are going to talk about the difference between the min and max width and why it's even useful for you. So, as you may already know, all websites must be responsive. All of them have to adapt to different screen sizes. And in order to achieve this, we can see how useful the min and max width are. Let me show you an example so that it makes more sense. We have a blue rectangle that it has a width of 800 pixels. I want to show you first with the width only so that it makes more sense why you would even need a min or max width later on. If you go to the browser now, you will notice that the rectangle looks good. There are no problems whatsoever. However, if a user visits the website on a smaller device, for example a tablet or a mobile, then having this width of 800 pixels is a problem because that's just a static number. It will never change, and we need it to change because screen sizes are different and there are many screen sizes. So let's see how it would look like if we were the user visiting on a mobile. For example, 500 pixels. You will notice that this scroll bar appears right here. You know what that means? It means that the blue rectangle right now is bigger than the screen size. And what it looks like for the user is that he needs to move to the right or to the left to see the content. That's annoying. Like, ideally, what he needs to do is just to visit the website and see the full content. This is not a good website. And one way to fix it is by using the min and max width. Let me show you an example of how it would look like. For this example, let's say that we insert a minimum in front of the width. Now we have 800 pixels. What do you think would happen? If we go to the browser, you see that the rectangle is taking the full space. That's because the min width of 800 pixels around here is the minimum. And because of the minimum, it will not allow less than that, but it will allow everything that the screen size is. It has no maximum and it can go as far as it needs to. And that's great because it allows our website to adapt to the different devices. Now let's see an example with the max width. Now, as you can see, it looks the same as in our first example, with one difference, and it's that when we go on a smaller device, you can notice that we get to the breakpoint of 800 pixels and we can go to 500 pixels, but we never get to see the scroll bar. And that's because this is actually changing. It's no longer 800 pixels. This is right now 550, 540. It's changing. So the max width, it's 800 pixels. But then the width is constantly changing as we are decreasing the size. So which one would you use? The minimum or the maximum width? So it depends. There is a mobile first approach in which you start designing your website from the very small, from the mobile up to the desktop. In that case, it would be useful to start from the minimum width, so that way it can just increment, because as you saw, it will take the whole space, and as it gets bigger, it will take more and more space. Now, if you are designing your website starting from the desktop up to the mobile, you will want to use the max width so that you can indicate the different breakpoints. Now, bear something in mind, and is that you will be using the min and max width with the media queries that CSS has. And also, there are some people that use libraries like Bootstrap or like Foundation, and these rules can change. But at its core, the min and max width is what you would be using in CSS in order to make your websites more responsive. And now let me show you one last example in case that the rectangle was not clear enough. As you can see right here, I have a text. And let me show you. This is just Lauren Nixon. It's 100 pixels. It hasn't changed. You can see it's a width of 100 pixels. And it will happen the same as with the rectangle. You see that if I go smaller than that, the scroll bar will appear because the text is just too big for the screen size. We solve this by using the min width or the max width. So if we use the min width, as you saw before, it will take the full space of the screen. So let's do it. And you can see here, it takes the full space. And if we are going to minimize, it's kind of responsive now, as you can see, it's moving. But when we get to the 800, it happens the same. It won't go much lower than that. If we use the max width, then it's gonna be as in our previous example, but we won't see the scroll bar when we reduce the screen size. It will actually move and be responsive. So I think that this example is a little bit more clear compared to the rectangle because we see more movement, but this is basically what would happen. It's very important that you understand this concept because you will be using it a lot once you start making your websites and making them responsive. Even if you use a library like Bootstrap, which will help you a lot, you will anyway need to use media queries, so an understanding of the min and max width will always make the difference. So if you like this video, I would appreciate it if you subscribe or give a like so I can know that you like this content. Thank you.